Om Sairam, Sai Satcharitra Chapter 6 Topics. The Ramanavami Festival, Repairs to the Masjid. Before describing the Ramanavami festival and masjid repairs, the author makes some preliminary remarks about the Sadguru. Efficacy of the Guru's touch. When the Sadguru is the helmsman, he is sure to carry us safely and easily beyond the worldly ocean. The word Sadguru brings to mind Sai Baba. He appears to me as if standing before me and applying udi, that is the sacred ashes, to my forehead and placing his blessing hand on my head. Then joy fills my heart and love overflows through my eyes. Wonderful is the power of the Guru's touch. The subtle body, consisting of thoughts and desires, cannot be burned by the world dissolving fire, but it is destroyed by the mere touch of the Guru's hand, and the sins of many past births are washed away. Even the minds of those who feel annoyed when they hear religious talk attains calmness. Seeing Sai Baba's handsome form chokes our throats with joy, makes the eyes overflow with tears, and overwhelms the heart with emotions. It awakens in us I am the Brahman consciousness, manifests in us the joy of self realization, dissolves the distinction of I and thou, and immediately makes us one with the Supreme Being. When I begin to read scriptures, at every step I am reminded of my Sadguru, and Sai Baba assumes the form of Rama or Krishna and makes me listen to his life. For instance, when I sit and listen to the Bhagavad, Sai becomes Krishna from top to toe, and I think he sings the Bhagavad for the welfare of his devotees. When I begin to talk, I at once remember Sai's stories to enable me to give suitable illustrations. When I myself start to write anything, I cannot compose a few words of sentences. But when he, of his own accord, makes me write, I go on writing and there is no end to it. When the disciple's egoism props up, he presses it down with his hand and gives him his power, makes him gain his object, and thus satisfies and blesses him. If anyone prostrates before Sai and surrenders heart and soul to him, then unsolicited, the main objects of life, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, are easily attained. The four paths of karma, jnana, yoga, and bhakti lead us separately to God. Of these, the path of bhakti is thorny and full of pits and ditches, and thus is difficult to traverse. But if you, relying on your Sadguru, avoid the pits and thorns and walk straight, it will take you to the ultimate destination. After philosophizing about the self existent Brahman, his power, Maya, to create this world, the world thus created, and stating that these three are ultimately one and the same, the author quotes Sai Baba's words guaranteeing the welfare of his devotees. There will be any dearth or scarcity of food and clothes in any devotee's homes. It is my special characteristic that I always look to and provide for the welfare of those devotees who worship me wholeheartedly, with their minds always fixed on me. Lord Krishna has also said the same in Gita, therefore strive not for food and clothes. If you want anything, beg of the Lord, forget worldly honors, try to get the Lord's grace and blessings and be honored in his court. Do not be deluded by worldly honor. The form of the deity should be firmly fixed in one's mind. Let all the senses and mind be devoted always to worship of the Lord, and let there be no attraction for any other thing. Find the mind in remembering me always, so that it will not wander elsewhere towards body, wealth, and home. Then it will be calm, peaceful, and carefree. This is the sign of the mind being well engaged. If the mind is vagrant, it cannot be called well merged. After quoting these words, the author goes on to relate the story of the Ramanavami's festival in Shirdi. As Ramanavami is the greatest festival celebrated in Shirdi, another fuller account, as published in the Sai Leela magazine of 1925, is also referred to, and a summary of the festival as related in both this account is attempted here. Origin: Mr. Gopal Rao Gund was a circle inspector at Kopargaon. He was a great devotee of Baba. He had three wives but initially had no children. With Sai Baba's blessings, a son was born to him. Due to the joy that he felt about this, the idea of celebrating a fair of Urus occurred to him in the year 1897, and he placed it for consideration before other Shirdi devotees like Tatya Patil, Dada Pote Patil, and Madhavrao Deshpande. They all approved of the idea and got Sai Baba's permission and blessings. Then an application to get the collector's sanction for celebrating the Urus was submitted. But as the village official was against holding the fair, the sanction was refused. But as Sai Baba had blessed it, they tried again and ultimately succeeded in getting the collector's sanction. The day of the Urus was fixed on the Ramanavami day. After consultation with Baba, it seemed he had some reason for doing this: the unification of the two fairs or festivals, the Urus and the Ramanavami, and thereby the unification of the two communities, the Hindus and the Muslims. As future events showed, this objective was achieved. Though permission was obtained, other difficulties cropped up. Shirdi was a small village and there was a scarcity of water. There were two wells in the village. The main well dried up very soon and the water from the second was brackish. This brackish water was turned into sweet water by Sai Baba by throwing flowers into it. The water of this well was still insufficient, and so Tatya Patil had to arrange to get water from a distant well. Then temporary shops had to be constructed and wrestling bouts were arranged. Gopal Rao Gund had a friend named Damu Annakasar of Ahmednagar. He was also similarly unhappy in the matter of progeny, though he had married twice. He too was blessed by Sai Babas with son, and Mr. Gun prevailed upon his friend to prepare and supply a small flag for the procession in the fair. He also succeeded in inducing Mr. Nana Sahib Nimonkar to supply another embroidered flag. Both these flags were taken in procession through the village and were finally fixed at the two corners of the masjid. This is being done even now. The sandal procession. There was another procession which was started during the fair. The idea for a sandal procession originated with Mr. Amir Shakhar Dalal, a Muslim devotee from Korhala. This procession is held in honor of great Muslim saints. Sandal paste and scrapings are put on a flat dish, and these are carried with incense burning in the dish through the village with music playing in the background. And after returning to the masjid, the contents of these dishes are applied on the nimbar and walls of the masjid by hand. This work was managed by Mr. Amish Shakar for the first 3 years and then afterwards by his wife. Thus, on the same day, the two processions, the flags by the Hindus and that of sandal by Muslims, went on side by side and are still going on without any hitch. Arrangement. This day was very dear and sacred to Baba's devotees. Most of them turned up on the occasion and took a leading part in the management of the fair. Tatya Kote Patil took care of all outward affairs while the internal management was left entirely to Radha Krishna Mai. She is a female devotee of Baba. Her residence was full of guests on the occasion and she had to take care of their needs and also arrange for all the paraphernalia of the fair. Another task which she willingly did was clean and whitewash the entire masjid, its walls and floors, which had been blackened by soot due to the burning dhuni. Dhuni is the sacred fire that Baba maintained, were cleaned and whitewashed. She did this during the night when Sai Baba went to sleep every alternate day in the Chavdi. She had to take all the things out, including the dhuni itself, and after thorough cleaning and whitewashing, replace them as they were before. Feeding the poor, which was so dear to Sai Baba, was also a great item in the fair. For this purpose, cooking on a grand scale and the preparation of various sweet dishes was done in Radha Krishna Mai's house. Various wealthy devotees played a leading part in this process. Transformation of the Urus into the Ramanavami festival. The fair was operating in this way and was gradually increasing in importance until 1912 when a change took place. That year, a devotee, Mr. Krishna Rao Jageshwar Bhishma, the author of the pamphlet Sai Sagunopasana, came for the fair with Dada Saheb Kapade of Amravati and was staying in Dikshit's Wada. While he was lying on the veranda and while Kaka Mahajani was going down with puja materials to the masjid, a new thought arose in his mind and he accosted the latter thus: there is some providential arrangement in the fact that the fair is celebrated in Shirdi on the Ramanavami day. This day is very dear to all the Hindus too. Then why not begin the Ramanavami festival? Ramanavami festival is the celebration of the birth of Sri Rama. On this day, Kaka Mahajani liked the idea and it was arranged to get Baba's permission in this matter. The main difficulty was finding a Haridas who would perform the Kirtan. Kirtan is singing songs in praise of the Lord on the occasion. But Bhishma solved this difficulty by saying that his Rama Akhyan, composition of Rama's birth, was ready and that he would do the Kirtan himself, while Kaka Mahajani would play the harmonium. It was also arranged to get the Suntavada, that is the ginger powder mixed with sugar, as prasad prepared by Radha Krishna Mai. So they immediately went to the masjid to get Baba's permission. Baba, who was omniscient, asked Mahajani what was going on in the Vada. Mahajani could not catch the purport of the question and remained silent. Then Baba asked Bhishma what he had to say. He explained the idea of celebrating the Ramanavami festival and asked for Baba's permission, and Baba gladly gave it. Everyone rejoiced and made preparations for the Jayanti festival. The next day, the masjid was decorated with the buntings. A cradle was supplied by Radha Krishna Mai and placed in front of Baba's seat, and the proceedings began. Bhishma stood up for the kirtan while Mahajani played the harmonium. Sai Baba sent a man to call Mahajani. He was hesitant to go and doubted whether Baba would allow the festival to go on. But when he went to Baba, the latter asked him as to what was going on and why the cradle was placed there. He answered that the Ramanavami festival had commenced and the cradle had been placed there for that purpose. Then Baba took a garland and placed it around Mahajani's neck and sent another garland for Bhishma. Then the kirtan commenced. When it came to a close, shouts of victory to Rama were heard and gulal, that's the red powder, was thrown all around. Everybody was overjoyed when suddenly roaring was heard. The red powder thrown promiscuously all around went up and somehow entered Baba's eyes. Baba got wild and began to yell loudly. Most people got frightened by the scene and took to their heels. Some intimate devotees who knew Baba well took the scoldings as a blessing in disguise. They thought that when Rama was born, it was proper for Baba to get wild and enraged to kill Ravana and his demons, egoism, and wicked thoughts. Besides, they knew that whenever a new thing was undertaken at Shirdi, it was normal for Baba to get wild and angry, and so they kept quiet. Radha Krishna Mai was rather afraid and thought that Baba might break a cradle, and she asked Mahajani to bring the cradle back. When he went to loosen and unfasten the cradle, Baba asked him to remove it. Then, after some time, Baba became calm, and that day's program, including the Mahapuja and Aarti, was completed. Later on, Mahajani asked Baba for permission to remove the cradle, and Baba refused, saying that the festival was not yet finished. The next day, another kirtan and Gopal Kala ceremony were performed, and it was then that Baba allowed the cradle to be removed. In the Gopal Kala ceremony, an earthen pot containing parched rice mixed with curd is hung, only to be broken after the kirtan. The contents of the pot are distributed to everyone. This was done by Lord Krishna among his cowherd friends. During the Ramanavami festival, the procession of the two flags during the day and that of the sandal by night went off with the usual pomp and show. From this time onward, Baba's Urus was transferred into the Ramanavami festival. From the very next year, that is 1913, the items on the program of the Ramanavami festival began to increase. Radha Krishna Mai started a Nama Sapatha, singing the glories of God's name continuously day and night for 7 days, the first of Chaitra. For this, several devotees took part in turns, and she also joined it sometimes early in the morning. As the Ramanavami festival is celebrated in many places all over the country, the difficulty of finding a Haridas was felt again. But 5 or 6 days before the festival, Mahajani accidentally met Balabuba Mali, who was known as modern Tukharam, and got him to perform the kirtan that year. The next year, 1914, Balabuba Satharkar from Brihatsiddha Kavate could not perform as a Haridas in his own town as plague was raging in his town. So he came to Shirdi and with Baba's permission, which was secured through Kaka Sahib Dikshit, performed the kirtan and was sufficiently recompensed for his labor. The difficulty of getting a Haridas every year was finally solved in 1914. Sai Baba entrusted this function to Das Ganu Maharaj permanently. He successfully conducted the kirtans for several years. Since 1912, the festival has grown gradually every year. From the 8th to the 12th of Chaitra, Shirdi looked like a beehive of people. Shops began to increase, celebrated wrestlers took part in wrestling bouts, and feeding of the poor was done on a grander scale. The hard work and the sincere effort of Radha Krishna might turn Shirdi into Sansthan, that's organization. Paraphernalia increased too. A beautiful horse, a palanquin, chariot, and many silver things like pots, buckets, pitchers, mirrors, etc. were donated for the festival. Elephants were also sent for the procession. Though all this paraphernalia increased substantially, Sai Baba ignored all those things and maintained his simplicity. It is to be noted that both Hindus and Muslims have been working in unison during both the processions and during the entire festival. There has been no hitch or quarrel between them so far. At first, about 5,000 to 7,000 used to attend, but that figure went up to 75,000 in some years, and yet there has been no outbreak of any epidemic or riots worth mentioning in all these years. This is the testament of Baba's power to reunite people of all religions. Repairs to the masjid. Another important idea occurred to Gopal Rao Gun. Just as he had started the Urus of or the fair, he was inspired to put the masjid in order. In order to carry out the repairs, he collected stones and had them dressed, but this work was not assigned to him. These were reserved for Nana Sahib Chandorkar and the payment was assigned to Kaka Sahib Dikshit. At first, Baba was unwilling to allow them to have this work done, but with the intervention of Malsapati, a close devotee, his permission was secured. When the payment was completed in the masjid, Baba began to use a small cushion pad of his seat, discarding the usual piece of sackcloth used till then. In 1911, the Sabha Mandap, the courtyard, was also repaired with great labor and effort. The open space in the front of the masjid was very small and inconvenient. Kaka Sahib Dikshit wanted to extend it and put proofing on it. At great expense, he bought iron posts, pillars, and trusses and started the work. At night, all the devotees worked hard and fixed the post. Baba, when he returned from the Chavdi the next morning, uprooted them all and threw them out. Once it so happened that Baba got very angry, caught a pole with one hand and began to shake and uproot it, and with the other hand held Tatya Patil's neck. He took by force Tatya's peta. Peta is that a piece of cloth that is tied on the head like a turban. Struck a match, set it on fire, and threw it in a pit. Baba's eyes flashed like burning embers, and no one dared to look at him. Everyone got terribly frightened. Baba took a rupee from his pocket and threw it there as if it were an offering on auspicious occasion. Tatya was also very frightened. No one knew that what was going to happen to Tatya and no one dared to interfere. Bhagoji Shinde, the leper devotee, made a bold advance but was pushed away by Baba. Madhavrao was also similarly treated and was pelted with pieces of brick. All those who went to intercede were similarly dealt with, but after some time Baba's anger cooled. He sent for a shopkeeper, bought from him an embroidered peta and tied it on Tatya's head as if he was being given a special honor. Everyone was wonderstruck to see Baba's strange behavior. They were at a loss to know what raged Baba so suddenly, what had led him to assault Tatya Patil, and why his anger cooled down the very next moment. Baba was sometimes very calm and quiet and said sweet things with love, but soon afterwards, with or without any pretext, got enraged. Many such incidents may be related, but I do not know which to choose and which to omit. I therefore refer to them to Baba inspires me too. Om Sairam, end of chapter 6.